I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story, and welcome to Friday. Look at that, we just finished the first week of September. To celebrate that, tonight we're going to start our show with a vision of hope. It involves a large area along the Willamette River in Portland, the place where OMSI now stands. There are big plans for its future development, and that is our big story tonight. The Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, OMSI, is a magical place for both kids and adults. My wife and I spent many dreary winter weekends there with our boys when they were young, and we loved every minute of it as we all played and learned about science. Lots of you have enjoyed it too, but you might not know that OMSI also owns additional property there, including a mile-long stretch along the river. And that property is part of a massive expansion plan for both OMSI and the city of Portland. Here's an aerial look. OMSI sits on the east side of the Willamette between the Markham there on the left and the Tillicum crossing bridges. The area around it may not look all that impressive right now, but there are 24 acres that will be redeveloped into a number of uses. Earlier this week, Portland City Council approved spending $15 million to get the project going. Before that vote, they heard from many supporters, including the Portland Metro Chamber, formerly the Portland Business Alliance.
This is another big moment for our city, and once again, another demonstration of this council's recognition that the city must be a genuine partner if we are to achieve our vision of a thriving Portland for future generations. As you are well aware, the Chamber views the OMSI District redevelopment as a generationally important project that, along with Broadway Corridor, New Albina, Rose Quarter, and Lloyd District, position Portland Central City to not just thrive, but demonstrate again that Portland is a global leader in urban livability, sustainable urban development, and shared economic opportunity.
So yeah, it's going to be big, and it will probably take about 10 years from now to finish. The plans include 1,200 units of new housing, with about 20% being reserved for lower income folks. There will also be a center for science, learning, and climate action, and a new park along the waterfront, and a center for tribal nations, and a whole lot more. Among those talking to the city councilors today, the president and CEO of OMSI.
This project has the great opportunity to also create a tremendous number of jobs during construction and in full operation for the OMSI district, in addition to tax revenue for the city of Portland. And ultimately, with our projections, it will generate more than $1 billion in private investment over the next 10 to 20 years in Portland. It is important because it helps to guarantee the growth and sustainability of our city, and really important because it also helps to sustain OMSI and the critical mission-based work that we do throughout Portland and the state, and the financial sustainability and economic prosperity of our partners.
Okay, $1 billion in private investment, that is pretty impressive. Part of the work, as I mentioned, will include a waterfront park along the banks of the Willamette, which, if you've been through there recently, it's not the most beautiful place in the world. Here's the development manager for Prosper Portland.
OMSI really aims to have a waterfront education park. They've got a mile-long waterfront, what they want to really re-envision with kind of 3 different reaches. The first reach is dedicated to the ecological restoration, and it's an opportunity also to test the feasibility of a mitigation bank that the city has been working on for quite some time as well, so it's another great partnership. The middle reach is dedicated to education and access to the water, bringing those classroom opportunities outside, and further expanding some of that education. And then the third reach, or the southern reach, is in Urban Plaza, and it's sits up high on the campus, beautiful views of the west side, and is where OMSI imagines holding its community events, its galas, etc., that will be also accessible to the public.
So a lot of plans to change the way the riverfront looks right now, which sounds wonderful. I run through there all the time. It's really not that spectacular. Here's another graphic to help you get an idea of how much things could change there. Everything with an X on it is in the area, but it's outside the plan of what they're going to be doing. It's your screen on the right you want to be looking at. So the PCC Climb Center and the Portland Opera, those are not going to change under the current plan, but everything else could. And we could see many new buildings there. Here's the executive director for Prosper Portland to explain.
Okay, so you see here just a snapshot of those glass containers, what can be built. So you'll see that there are heights that are set There's an orientation, but it's pretty flexible. So questions around the kinds of things that can be built can change over time. But this is what the Design Commission approved. And as you'll see, the OMSI portion, they could build between 600 and 2.5 million gross square feet. So we're talking about quite a bit of development capacity. And with and across the entire OMSI district, you're talking about between 1.2 and 4.4 million square feet.
So, yeah, going to be substantial. They included some artist renderings of what the finished project could look like. Busy streets with people and shops and towers for people to live in. Here's another view with an evening perspective added in. And while it's not as interesting to look at, the plan also calls for a new water avenue, which would include new sewer lines and electrical and water for all the new development that's going to happen there. There's another street there currently called Water Avenue. That's not going to go away. They apparently just wanted to add another one to handle the extra traffic. And this is probably the most spectacular piece that I've seen of this. This rendering is for the Center for Tribal Nations. It looks like it'll be two buildings right behind OMSI. Here's the executive director of the Northwest Native Chamber telling City Council about it.
The Center for Tribal Nations is the first of its kind, Native-led urban development that establishes a Native presence on the Willamette River, while creating space for a new era of indigenous expressions of excellence. For thousands of years, Native people came together in this place, forging intertribal bonds and building community through trade and cultural gatherings. The Center for Tribal Nations reclaims that crucial connection to the river, celebrating the Native cultures and values that have endured through centuries of colonization and displacement.
The one big issue for the entire project, parking. OMSI has two parking lots there now. I drew those nice red arrows so that they're easy to spot for you, but those are both areas where new buildings could and likely will go up. So where would people park? The experts say, yeah, that's a problem we still need to solve. But I got to say, I think it's a fascinating project overall and a fun look to the future that many people are going to benefit from. Whether you live in Portland or not, doesn't matter. In the end, the City Council unanimously did approve spending that $15 million to get the project going. So, what do you think about all this? What about the plan for the OMSI property? Let us know, will you? Send us an email. The address is thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. All week we've been tracking Oregon's new drug law that recriminalized possession of things like meth and fentanyl. This is the first week that it took effect. From the streets to the courtroom, we followed the process for deflection, where people can opt for treatment instead of jail. Today, our Blair Best sat down with Multnomah County's chief criminal judge, who says the addiction crisis will not be fixed inside the courtroom.
When possession of hard drugs became a crime again on Sunday, Multnomah County still had a lot to figure out, especially inside the courtroom. Here's Chief Criminal Judge Michael Greenlick.
It's really a difficult situation to try and deal with these things in the courts right now.
Here's why. When someone is caught with drugs on the streets, police check their record. If they have outstanding warrants, they go to jail. If not, they're offered deflection, the option of treatment instead. Outreach workers then take over for police. But that's only happening during the day, Monday through Friday. Outside those hours, it's up to the court to act as a temporary deflection center, seen as the county at the last minute postponed opening an actual center.
This whole using the court to, deflect people into deflection thing, we all came up with that in the last week because we had to respond to the fact that it wasn't going to happen in the community.
Outreach workers now meet people arrested on weekends or at night who qualify for deflection at the court to offer them treatment. The first time that happened this week, the man didn't show up. Neither did the outreach workers. A judge issued a warrant for his arrest. But turns out that part wasn't supposed to happen.
I think they had their signals crossed a little bit the first day, and so there shouldn't be charges filed if they're eligible for deflection, even if they don't show.
Instead, that man failed deflection and faces potential future arrest if caught with drugs again. But what about those who don't qualify for deflection and go straight to jail? Well, due to a lack of public defenders, they're often released back onto the streets.
For these drug enforcement misdemeanors, most of them are going to be released pending trial.
Which begs the question, will this new law change the cycle of addiction in Multnomah County?
I don't know. We need a lot of services in the community, and they're trying to build those up. But, to tell you the truth, somebody who's using fentanyl every day, who has no place to live. Will something like this make a difference? I don't know. We'll see.
Blair joins me now. Fascinating conversation with the judge, but he does not seem confident that this is going to be a solution.
So the language in this new law is really rooted in getting people into recovery. But as you heard it there from the judge, in order for that to happen, Multnomah County desperately needs more services, including more treatment beds and public defenders. We watched that play out both on the streets and in the courtroom this week. We saw one man get released from the courts because there weren't any available attorneys to represent him. We also watched that happen on a corner of Old Town where a man was offered deflection. He accepted, but he was left on the streets because there were no available detox beds.
Yeah, how frustrating on all of that.
It really is.
And what does the judge say about public defender crisis? How's that going to impact all this?
He calls this a major crisis that Multnomah County has been dealing with for a couple of years now, and he sees this being a big issue when it comes to prosecuting these new misdemeanor drug charges.
It's like a human tragedy rolling out in our community every day. It's the hardest part of my job. You know, I'm the chief criminal judge in Multnomah County, and so I deal with all sorts of things, including setting up systems for deflection and for our new drug enforcement misdemeanor cases. But, you know, the hardest and the most difficult thing is dealing with this crisis. It is often the case that when people are out in the community with no lawyer and in a position where they haven't been held accountable, that they commit more crimes. Then they come back to court, we still don't have a lawyer. It's extremely frustrating. It's really hard to watch. They're working on a 6-year plan, a 10-year plan to try and fix this, but we need a 90-day plan, and we've needed a 90-day plan for 2.5 years.
That is a great comment that gets right to the heart of it, I think. Wow, powerful. All right, what about people who are arrested for serious crimes and have drug possession? Do they still get deflection?
Sort of. So they get the option of treatment. So under House Bill 4002, say someone is caught with possession of hard drugs, but also caught with drug dealing. So they will be held in jail, presumably, for that drug dealing charge. But they will also, under the new law, be offered treatment for that drug possession charge. And if they successfully complete treatment, they could get that one charge of drug possession removed. Now, this idea of offering people treatment who are caught with possession is not new for Multnomah County. In fact, it's something that we've been doing just a few years ago.
Before Measure 110, we had a program here in Multnomah County that we called Treatment First. And so these were criminal possession charges, and we were telling people, listen, if you get an assessment, engage in treatment, your case will be dismissed. If not, you'll do 30 days in jail. Very few people succeeded, even though we were trying hard to support them. Mm-hmm. And so it is a significant problem in our community. So I think deflection is really worth a try to see if it helps.
And just to clarify, he's hopeful that the mobile deflection, meeting people on the streets, offering them that immediate referral to services will help this whole system.
Because it'll be different than what they did before.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, great stuff. Thank you, Blair. Appreciate it. Week 2 of the big grocery merger trial in downtown Portland wrapped up a bit early today. An unexpected witness from Walmart, an expected witness, was not available until Monday, so they shut the thing down before noon on this Friday. Earlier this week, the CEOs of Kroger and Albertsons testified. Kroger owns Fred Meyer, Albertsons owns Safeway, and Kroger wants to buy Albertsons for $24.6 billion, saying it will help them compete against other giants like Walmart, Amazon, Costco. The Federal Trade Commission sued to stop the merger, arguing the deal would cut competition between Kroger and Albertsons and bring higher grocery prices to consumers. Bloomberg's antitrust reporter Leah Nyland has been in the courtroom every day of the trial and is helping us out. Today, she gave us the highlights from the end of the week, too.
We heard from the chief marketing officer of Kroger, whose name is Stuart Aiken, and he talked about some of the price investments or price cuts that they intend to make if the merger goes forward. So he said on day one, they intended to slash prices on 28 of the most commonly bought items at Albertsons stores. And then within 6 months, they're hoping to have been able to reduce prices or cut them on something like 650 of the most commonly bought items. So they have this sort of plan that they for how they intend to roll it out in lowering prices. And that's a big one of their selling points to the judge is that, you know, this merger will give us a scale that will be allow us to lower prices. And then probably like one of the most consequential witnesses who's testified so far was Susan Morris. She is currently the chief operating officer of Albertsons, but she has been selected to be the new CEO and president of retail at CNS if the merger goes through. So she would essentially be leading this new company that would be created if the merger does happen.
CNS, by the way, is the wholesaler based in New Hampshire that is set to buy 579 stores across the country as part of this whole deal. Most of those stores are owned by Albertsons. 62 are in Oregon, 124 in Washington. Susan Morris testified that when she first learned about the merger, she wasn't all that happy about it, mostly because she'd spent decades with Albertsons and was disappointed they'd be sold to one of their biggest competitors.
She said that now over time she has sort of come around in part because she's going to be leading this new company at CNS, which she says the 600 stores is in her view a little bit of a sweet spot because they'll be small enough to be agile, but still large enough because they're connected to CNS, the wholesaler, to have some good buying power. The FTC did try and poke a couple holes in her testimony. They pointed out that if the merger goes through, she is going to earn $50 million. So, you know, she does have a little bit of an incentive to say these things. And that, you know, she had made a big point about how, you know, she has been involved in a number of mergers that Albertsons has gone through over the years, including the 2015 Safeway one. And the FTC pointed out that while the 2015 Safeway deal may have been good for Albertsons, it wasn't good for all of the stores that were divested.
Why? Well, because many of those divested stores have since closed. Be sure to check out Leah's fantastic reporting on this case. Just head over to Bloomberg.com. You can find her stories. There's just 1 week left in this trial now. Next week, we're expecting to hear from other retailers that Kroger and Albertsons say are their main competition, Amazon, Walmart, Target. Shortly after that, we'll have closing arguments. Best guess is those get underway as early as Wednesday, but it depends on the length of the testimony early in the week. So keep it right here. We have one more story for you when we come back. Portland's arts organizations have been struggling since the pandemic, and, making it in the arts wasn't exactly easy even before that. The nonprofit music school in North Portland is feeling the crunch, but as Ashley Koch reports, the community they built is banding together to try and save them.
In a small building on the corner of North Killingsworth and Williams in Portland, music fills the halls. Kids like 13-year-old Beatrix are trying out an instrument and figuring out who they are.
Yeah, nice job.
My thing is music. My voice and piano lessons turned into voice, piano, and guitar lessons. And I was like, you know what? If I'm learning guitar, I might as well learn ukulele. So I'm just here all the time.
For Beatrix, it's more than just a place to learn to play.
When she walks in the door, everybody, all the teachers and the front desk staff know her and say hi.
I could walk through this place in my sleep. I could find every single room.
It's a refuge.
6th grade really sucked for me, but I would always look forward to being like, oh yay, I can't wait until Monday.
A place to connect and to try scary things.
I'd written a couple of songs. I'm going to put it brutally honest, they kind of sucked. I was like, I am never showing these to anybody. Like, I am never releasing music ever. No one gets to know about these songs.
Things that adults are scared to try, like playing for an audience.
So, yeah, this next song is Stick Season by Noah Kahan.
Sometimes I try to work the crowd, and sometimes they go with it, and sometimes they don't go with it.
As you promised me that I was more than all the
My most recent performance, I told a joke to the crowd and literally nobody laughed. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna play the ukulele now.
Sticks and I saw your mom, she forgot that I existed.
Ethos Music Center has been that place for countless kids in Oregon for 26 years. They offer music lessons on a sliding scale with deep discounts to kids getting free and reduced lunch, and programs for immigrant kids, underserved schools, and kids in rural areas. It's a mission that resonated for piano teacher Morgan Wilhelm.
Music is a part of our heritage as humans.
One that brings them joy.
When they sit down and they can look at music and play it and they recognize what they're doing, they get so excited. And I've had kids literally jumping in the back of the classroom because they're just so happy that they're able to do this.
But for Morgan, for Beatrix, for Ethos, the future is uncertain. In April, the board of directors sent out an email. Ethos is facing an existential threat, a shortage of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and no clear path forward. While the financial crisis was brewing, the teachers had been organizing for better working conditions.
I was looking at my schedule and thinking, I don't have any paid prep time, and I have to do that all on my own time.
But when the news about the financial situation came out, their focus expanded.
From creating better working conditions to creating a longer lasting ethos.
Like many unions, they want better pay for teachers and a say over things like scheduling. But they say at the end of the day, they're all on the same side. They jumped in to try to save the school. Teachers have been holding fundraisers, concerts, garage sales. They're even getting involved in donor relations and grant applications.
We want to be able to help. How can we use the energy and the time and the talents we have?
Then families like Beatrix's mom, Annalisa, joined in.
I came over here, I went up to the front desk and said, hey, what's going on? What can I do? How can I help?
Families started to work on fundraising and planning a future for Ethos.
And we were talking about how hard it was to see another community organization that was struggling post-pandemic and how important it was for community to step up in support of that. And then we paused and we were like, oh wait, that's us. We're communities.
Because losing this place would leave a hole.
So that it kind of feels like a second home to me at this point, and I don't know what I'd do if they closed.
And when you've been dedicated to the community for nearly 3 decades, the hope is the community won't let you go. Ashley Koch, KGW News.
By the way, a little bit of good news. Ethos says since the spring, the financial situation has improved, thanks in large part to the teachers, families, and the volunteers who've helped out. but they still have a long ways to go. If you want to donate or take a class or go to an event, they have a lot to do. Check out ethos.org. In the meantime, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching, and remember, the story, our collective story, that never ends. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday night at 6:30.